What can you do when negative thoughts fill your head during games? In this episode, I'm going to talk about a key idea when it comes to getting rid of negative thinking in sports. Hey there, I'm Eli Straw, a mental performance coach who works with athletes from around the world on building a stronger mental game. When you have a lot of negative thinking when you play, do you play your best, or do you tend to play worse than you normally do, or you underperform? Most of the athletes that I talk to underperform when they have negative thinking. And this is because of a lot of different reasons, but at the core, it's going to create more of a negative emotional state, whether that is self-doubt, whether it generates states of fear or anxiety, or whether it makes the athlete feel like they need to force a good performance. So it's important for us, if we know that negative thinking holds you back, to work to get rid of these negative thoughts. But the difficult part is, if you have negative thinking when you're playing, you can't just push these thoughts away. You can't just tell yourself, oh, I need to think more positively. We need to have a strategy to actually get rid or replace these negative thoughts. And the strategy that I want to go over is one I was talking to an athlete about yesterday in a one-on-one coaching call. And I was using the analogy of a bucket full of boiling water. And the reason I was using this analogy was because when I was asking him, how do we get rid of negative thoughts? He was saying, well, I need to just push them out. I need to stop thinking that way. And so I asked him to imagine that he had a bucket of boiling water. And I said, our goal is to turn that boiling water into room temperature or cool water. And I said, we have a couple choices. We can either wait for the boiling water to cool off, or we could do something right now that would help us turn the boiling water into cooler water. And I said, if we want to turn the boiling water into cooler water or more room temperature water, we would take the bucket of boiling water and we would start to pour cool water into the bucket. As we pour the cool water into the bucket, it's going to force the boiling water out of the bucket. And over time, we're going to have completely replaced the boiling water with cold water. And now in the bucket, we're going to have more room temperature to cool water. The same thing applies to our thinking. We could wait for those negative thoughts to go away. We could wait for something good to happen in the game that would turn our mood around. But if we want to work to get rid of the negative thoughts in the moment, we have to take the same approach that we would take if we want to replace the boiling water with cooler water. And so just like you would fill the bucket full of cool water to push out the boiling water, we need to fill our head full of positive thoughts to push out the negative thoughts. I hope you're enjoying today's episode. I just wanted to take a quick break to remind you that I do offer one-on-one mental coaching for athletes. It's a 12-week program where we will have weekly coaching sessions. It begins with an assessment, and it also has a workbook that includes exercises for you to go through between our sessions. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I've put a link in the description below. The reason I like to look at managing or getting rid of negative thinking in this way is because if we just tell ourselves to stop thinking negatively, that's not going to do much good. Just like if I said, I don't want this bucket to be full of boiling water, it's not really going to do much. But if I'm active in working to replace the boiling water with cool water, just like I'm working to replace my negative thoughts with positive thoughts, that pushes out what we don't want to have there, and it leaves us with what we want, which in this case is positive thinking. So the way that this works during a game or before a game is that when you notice your head is full of these negative thoughts, you have to work to replace it and to push out those negative thoughts with more positive thoughts. And this has to be an active process where you are actively working to talk to yourself in a positive way. You have to work to fill your head, very consciously, and you have to put a lot of effort into it with positive thoughts. So if I'm saying, I can't believe I made that mistake, I suck, I would want to start telling myself things like, I've got this, it's okay, I can move on from that, I know I'm a great player, I've been practicing well this week. And this is not like it's not a magic pill or anything that's going to all of a sudden make you more confident. But the one thing that we do know is if you underperform when you're negative and when you're thinking negatively, we have to work to change that thinking into more positive thinking. Now, of course, you don't want to be overthinking when you play. So during the game, it's not that you have to constantly be trying to think positively because, when you play, we do want to just be present. But, any moment when there's a break in play, any time before the game, or any time during the game when you're not actively in the play itself, this is a great time for you to be proactive with your negative thoughts. So what I mean by being proactive is that, of course, I can wait until I have negative thoughts in order to try to replace them. And if that's the point where you are, you do want to make sure you're trying to replace those negative thoughts with these positive thoughts. But if we also know that the more I can fill that bucket up proactively with cool water, the less boiling water is going to be there. So the more I can proactively fill my head with this positive thinking, the more likely I am keeping away those negative thoughts. So I just wanted to make this short episode to share with you that analogy, because I know it can be really hard when we're playing to just get rid of negative thinking. And it's really hard when we're just thinking, I've got to stop this type of thinking. I need to be more positive. And I want you to see it as an active process where you have to push out those negative thoughts. And the only way to push those negative thoughts out is to fill your head with more positive thinking. The more you do this, the more you're going to notice that you're in a better mood when you play. You're in a better emotional state. And then that will lead to better performance for you on the field or on the court. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and as always, I put a link in the description below to learn more about my one-on-one coaching program, along with links to my 2 online courses, the Confident Competitor Academy and the Mentally Tough Kid course. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and I wish you the best of success in all that you do.